Our lead story tonight in a landmark judgment, a 10% quota for the economically weaker section or the poor in jobs and education has been upheld by a Supreme Court constitutional bench in a majority verdict. The constitutional validity of the 103rd Amendment has been upheld, which was brought by the Modi government and cleared by Parliament in 2019. It was a 3-2 verdict by the top court bench. Interestingly, the Chief Justice of India, Justice UU Lalit and Justice Ravindra Bhatt dissented. In the judgment, also the majority view was that EWS, or the poor, cannot be treated at par with the general category. That was the majority view. Also, that it doesn't violate the basic structure of the Constitution. However, Justice Bhatt said in his dissenting verdict that the Constitution doesn't allow exclusion and reservation is an instrument. However, for affirmative action was the majority view. Here's what the big headlines are on this huge story.
Are consequently disposed of.
A big win for the centre. On Monday, the Supreme Court Constitution Bench, in a majority view, has upheld the validity of the 103rd Constitutional Amendment, clearing the 10% reservation for economically weaker sections. In a landmark verdict, a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court has held that economic status can be the sole criteria for granting reservation. 3 out of 5 judges, Justice Dinesh Maheshwari, Justice Bela Trivedi and Justice Pardiwala, in a majority view, upheld 10% reservation for economically weaker sections, stating that it does not breach the basic structure of the Constitution.
In this background, reservation structured singularly on economic criteria does not violate any essential feature of the Constitution of India and does not cause any damage to the basic structure of the Constitution of India.
I have concurred with the opinion of Brother Justice Maheshwari.
While concurring with my esteemed brother, Justice Maheshwari, and my esteemed sister, Justice Bela Trivedi, and while upholding the validity of the impugned amendment, I have thought fit to observe, I quote, "Thus, reservation is not an end, but a means to secure social and economic justice. Reservation should not be allowed to become a vested interest."
While Chief Justice of India UU Lalit and Justice Ravindra Bhatt dissented with the majority view and said that exclusion of backward classes in 10% reservation for economically weaker sections is unconstitutional.
I regret my inability to concur with the views expressed by the majority opinion on the validity of the 103rd Amendment on question number 3. Our Constitution does not speak the language of exclusion. In my considered opinion, the amendment, by the language of exclusion, undermines the fabric of social justice and thereby the basic structure.
Chief Justice Lalit, on his last day in the Apex Court, concurred with the dissenting opinion of Justice Bhatt.
I have concurred with the view taken by Honorable Justice Ravindra Bhatt in its entirety.
After the landmark verdict in the reservation case, the outgoing Chief Justice held the ceremonial bench for one last time, along with designate Chief Justice Chandrachud. The lawyer for the petitioner cautioned that this may mean quota for the forward caste if not enough guardrails are put in place. The order comes as a boost to the BJP ahead of the Himachal and Gujarat polls. In Himachal Pradesh, it will help BJP impress the mostly upper caste population of the state, where Thakurs and Brahmins are 50% of the population. Also in Gujarat, the ruling will come in handy to assuage the Patel community that has been demanding quota. Political reactions have been cautious over the sensitive issue, while parties like the Congress and TMC welcome the verdict. DMK has spoken out against it, with MK Stalin calling the verdict a setback to social justice struggle, while the RJD called for a caste-based census immediately. The quota for poor is set to ignite the BJP versus the caste-based regional parties tussle even further.
Supreme Court Constitution Bench in a 3:2 majority has upheld the 10% reservation for the economically weaker section over and above the existing 50% reservation quota. But it has not answered on the question of states that already have over 50% reservation quota. That's where the experts say that the Supreme Court has opened a Pandora box. With camera person Xavier Thomas, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
And that's really the big question. How will this really change the political landscape? What does this mean when we say a quota for EWS? Because it basically means that this is a quota, some say, for the forward caste. It's pro-poor, looking at economic status of a person, not caste status. Is that progressive? Is that what India needs in the 21st century? Or are we ignoring the reality of caste in this country? Ankit, what really are the two big arguments here?
You know, just before that, let's just try and understand what this entire EWS quota, economically weaker section quota is. The Supreme Court today has cleared it. It is for the 10% people, those who are not already covered in any other quota. So this is the quota for jobs, education, for poor. Those with up to 8 lakh rupee income can avail this quota. The important aspect in this is that SCs, STs, OBCs who already get the reservation in various quotas, they are not covered in this. And this was also, in fact, one of the main points which the Supreme Court addressed in its order. The EWS quota also brings forward the caste poor in quota ambit. So the upper caste, which have been fighting in a lot of states to get this quota, will now be covered. It will be easy for the states to go ahead. The centre has cleared this in 2019 and nearly 40 petitions were in fact put in to challenge this quota. Now, this entire, just to give a sense of where do we stand today as far as our quota pie chart is concerned, where are we in terms of the total numbers? It is about 60% if you also include this 10%. There is already existing scheduled caste, which is 15% quota. The scheduled tribes have 7.5% quota. OBCs have 27% quota. And now with the economically weaker section also being included, this will now go across about 60% of the earlier limit, which was set by the Supreme Court of 50%. And also remember that was a 9-bench order that had given this and, cast this limit of 50%. Now, this also tells you that the 50% quota limit that was set by the earlier 9-bench is not inflexible. It can be, in fact, moved forward. And that is also a legal question that a lot of people are asking. Can a, bench which is 5-judge bench overrule a 9-judge bench order?
And of course, Ankit, like so many decisions in India, the Supreme Court decision is one aspect, but of course the politics of it, because we've seen the BJP come out. This was, of course, brought by the centre, cleared by Parliament, including by the Congress and other mainstream parties. But there's a lot of politics, which is also going to come out, the political impact. How do you see that?
Already is, and it was such an astute move politically. No political party is going to, oppose this in the parliament. That is why even RJD and other political parties at that point of time had moved out of the parliament. But there will be serious impact and immediate impact as well. For the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is seen as an upper caste predominantly party, which is supported by the upper caste, they consolidate their position as pro-upper caste party. It will have an immediate impact on the Himachal Pradesh polls, where about 50% voters are from the upper caste. In Gujarat as well, it will have an impact because remember, the Patidar agitation last time, the Patels and the Patidar, that was a big problem for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now they can use this to in fact address their problems and their demand for reservation. Meanwhile, because in Gujarat there are 33% voters which are from the upper caste. Now other states also would use this because there has been a Maratha agitation. There have been many other communities in other states as well, protesting and wanting quota. They can be given quota under this 10%. And the excuse of 50% limit of reservation will no longer be valid. This will mean, as Arvind was also saying, it is going to open a Pandora box as far as people are concerned in political parties. A lot of political parties have reacted. Like you said, BJP has welcomed it. BL Santosh very clearly going ahead and saying big boost in the direction of social justice. But Mr. Stalin is possibly one of the few leaders who have come out and has said that this verdict is a setback for the century-old social justice struggle. He has also appealed to all like-minded outfits to unite for social justice. Congress, Jairam Ramesh has welcomed this move. Politically, before election, it will be very difficult not to, in fact, come and, gives it a thumbs up.
Meanwhile, the Gujarat High Court reopened today after the Diwali vacation, observing a 2-minute silence for the over 135 people, including women and children, killed in Morbi. The court has asked for immediate action, saying it was a disheartening incident where hundreds died and untimely deaths, saying we would have opened the case closer had it not been for the Diwali vacation sooner. The court has said, and this is on its own, it's intervened, has asked for a response from the state and the State Human Rights Commission on the steps taken so far and the inquiry into what killed so many people. Why did that bridge collapse within the next week to 10 days? Well, moving to other news, Rahul Gandhi has now been on the road leading the Bharat Jodo Yatra of the Congress for 2 months. And now, as it crosses 61 days, it's entering Maharashtra from Telangana. 61 days when nearly 1,559 kilometers covered. It is expected to cover 382 kilometers in Maharashtra. The Bharat Jodo Yatra will be here from the 7th to the 20th of November. Let's go across to Sohit for more. So, Sohit, now again in Maharashtra, it's significant because this is a time when, of course, the alliance has lost government in the state and a show of opposition unity before the civic elections. What is likely to happen over the next few days? We're seeing the Congress has made grand preparations here to receive Rahul Gandhi.
Absolutely, Sonia. If you look at the preparations first, what you see behind me are all the Congress leaders on the stage, and they all are waiting for Rahul Gandhi, who will be reaching over here in Jodo, which is in Nanded, in next few hours or in an hour or so, after which he will be in Maharashtra for the next 14 days and he'll be travelling around 382 kilometers. Joining me is also Mumbai Congress President Bhai Jagtap. Huge crowd present over here to welcome Rahul Gandhi. A lot of processes being made by Congress as well. But also at the same time, we saw what has happened right now is that lower court has decided to block temporarily the Twitter page of Bharat Jodo Yatra. So this is happening just before the Yatra reaches Maharashtra.
Well, since it is a court, I just don't want it to do any derogatory statement against the court. We are abide by the law. But at the same time, as you rightly said, it's a lower court. Certainly, we are going to do appeal in the upper court. But let me take you back to another ban which the Twitter had on Rahul Gandhi's account, my account, so many accounts they banned. The way Bharat Jodo Yatra is taking shape, the way people are joining Bharat Yatra, the way people are identifying themselves to the issues which Rahulji is raising. So, this is something which really I don't understand. What is wrong in this?
Also, at the same time, this Yatra continues for 14 days. So, what are the preparations? Leaders from other parties will also be coming over here. What all has been
Yeah, I'm told, and I know for sure. Pawar Sahab, Sharad Pawarji is likely to join. Even Shiv Sena, we have called them. We have, in fact, invited them. They are also likely to join. So, it's like MVA, which was ruling in Maharashtra, all those parties, they may participate in this Bharat Jodo Yatra.
So as you said, Sonia, yes, the MVA power will be seen over here, where the leaders of other parties will also be standing. If Rajendra Dayalkar could just show a huge crowd that is over here, Sonia, since 6 p.m. who is waiting for Rahul Gandhi, and they are over here since 6 p.m. and they will be over here till like 1 a.m. where the Mashal Yatra will end. So yes, Sonia, huge preparations made by the Congress party in Maharashtra for Rahul Gandhi's entrance, where he'll be coming over here and staying for the next 14 days, where he'll be covering around 382 kilometers.
So, hey, thanks so much for that update live from Nanded in Maharashtra. Meanwhile, let's go across to what's happening in the National Capital Region on pollution. And Priyanshi, we can see over to you that while curbs have been lifted, the worry is that pollution is likely to worsen over the next few days. You're currently in the middle of it.
That's right, Sonia. The forecast is that the air quality index could worsen to 370, 380 in the coming few days by just November 10th. Currently, the air quality index in the national capital is around 350. And we can see in the satellite images that the air quality index currently in the national capital is very poor. Even though those curves have been lifted, it's a relief from the severe category, but the very poor category still means that prolonged exposure to this can cause respiratory illnesses. In fact, it's not just Delhi, but various North Indian cities, such as cities in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh as well, in which the air quality index is in the unhealthy category, such as Faridkot in Punjab and Ludhiana in Punjab as well, have a poor category of the air quality. So it is a North India problem than just a Delhi problem. But if we talk about Delhi, several curves have been lifted as the air quality has dipped from the severe category to the very poor category. Schools are reopening from the 9th of November. Entry of trucks has been allowed again, but still non-BS6 diesel vehicles are still not allowed in the national capital. But experts are saying that it is still a very hazardous level of air quality that we are breathing. So there need to be stricter measures that should be in place still.
Right, and perhaps not lift curbs so fast, but thanks Priyanshi for that. This of course happening at a time that global leaders are meeting on climate change and the current climate chaos warning, with global temperatures set to rise by 2.8 degrees. Also on the table is a proposal for rich countries to actually pay compensation for the huge damage in developing countries by climate change caused by their carbon emissions.
The opening session will begin now. Thank you.
Leaders of the developed, rich nations arriving at the annual UN Climate Summit, where they are under pressure. Given that historically the US, EU and other developed nations are responsible for over half of the greenhouse gas emissions, which led to global warming, they face demands to pay for the loss and damage suffered by poor and developing nations. Loss and damage is on the agenda for the first time.
Specifically, it's time for an historic pact between the developed and the emerging economies. A pact in which developed countries deliver at the commitment made in Paris and make an additional effort to reduce emissions in line with 1.5 degree goal. And a pact in which wealthier countries provide financial and technical assistance.
While the goal is to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees by 2030, it's already at over 1.1 degrees Celsius over pre-industrial times. It is estimated that at 1.5 degrees, small island states like the Maldives will start to submerge. Beyond this devastation, natural calamities like heat waves, droughts, extreme rainfall are likely to be far worse than what we've seen this year. Temperatures are set to rise as much as 2.8 degrees Celsius by the end of the century with the current policies in place. In India alone, there have been lower crop yields, earlier and longer heat waves, as well as extreme rainfall. Yet, leaders of India and China, two of the top 3 global polluters, are not attending the summit.
And what we expect to happen in Sharm el-Sheikh is to agree on a new stream of finance to address loss and damage, the way scale and intensity of disasters are increasing.
It doesn't end here. Globally, record high temperatures in Europe and rivers drying up across the northern hemisphere are cause of major concern. The rich nations have resisted even accepting their role in loss and damages, let alone financing it. In a world roiled by economic uncertainty, the possibility of them loosening their purse strings does not appear to be bright, but climate diplomats will have much work to do in the next 2 weeks to make sure their plans and targets are accomplished. Parmeshwar Bava for NDTV.